let's have a nice cup of TRE in the afternoon with Hannah Murray.
With us on the line now is our trivia guru, Graeme Donald. This month, we're looking at some words and expressions relating to drink and alcohol. Welcome to the show, Graeme.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I've had some snow this morning, but it's all gone.
Oh, was it all gone already?
It disappeared before lunch.
Oh, so it wasn't very thick snow then?
No.
Not enough time to build a snowman?
No, thank God.
Fair enough. Okay, so with Christmas and New Year kind of coming up, you decided to talk about drink.
Yes, why not? Yeah, like the oldest alcoholic beverage or whatever made by man was or still is. It's still around. It's something called mead, MEAD, which is fermented honey blended with water. And that dates back to something like 20,000 years ago.
Oh, goodness, as old as that?
Yeah, it's all headbangers in caves. And then next came beer, which dates back to about 8,000 years, this followed by wine at about 6,000 years.
Gosh, I had no idea that it was all that old.
Yeah. I mean, I was a bit surprised as well. Certainly about mead, about 20,000 years ago. Now, a lot of people think that, like, for example, Japanese sake is a kind of rice wine, but it's actually a brewed product, which essentially makes it a beer. and the strongest beer currently available, and this stunned me, is a product called snake venom, which conjured forth in a brewery in Scotland, comes out at an eye-watering 67.5%.
What? For a beer?
Yeah. I mean, a pint of that would rot your sporran, wouldn't it?
That's madness.
67.5. That's double the strength of the average vodka on sale in this country.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, Gordon Bennett. Anyway, now, before the ancient Greeks discovered wine, they weren't the only one. Until they found it, making wine, the only thing that the Greeks distilled was poison made from plant matter, which they used to tip their arrows. Now, the Greek for a bow was toxon, Toxon, hence toxophily, which is a fancy term for the art of archery. And you also get toxic. So the first people to get intoxicated were those shot to death with poisoned arrows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, now when the Greeks discovered winemaking, the term shifted in meaning, but the educated elite of, like, Oxbridge, who are aware of the etymology of the linguistic origin of the term, they still like to invite other people to name your poison as an invitation to a drink.
Oh, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it literally, originally, it was poison.
Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, pick your poison. People still say it now.
Yes. Watch out for the arrows flying across the barroom. Yeah.
Gosh.
Now, for those ancient Greeks, Bacchus, he was the god of wine and general revelry. So to invite his blessings on their vineyards for a good harvest, they used to hang little masks of him in the vines and the surrounding trees. Now, the Greek for those little face masks was osculum. And because these wine god masks swung to and fro in the breeze, we actually get the term oscillate. So from wine-thirsty ancient Greeks to the modern oscilloscope showing waveform variance in frequency and voltage is but one very small step.
Yeah, when we have the fan in the summer, we make sure it oscillates.
Yeah, it just moves to and fro, to and fro. Yeah. Now, another quite groundless belief, which was held firm by the ancient Greeks, was one of the old, like cures like type, and this gave us the word treacle, as based on the Greek terakos, meaning of or relating to feral animals. I mean, should you have the misfortune to get bitten by a passing dog in ancient Greece, then the recommended cure was to apply to the wound a thick poultice, which included some of the hair from the animal that bit, or the dog that bit you. which would have been a dangerous process. So it's nasty enough to bite you in the first place. So you go and rip some hair out of it to make, oh damn, I need another. Oh bang, and then you end up with a very bitten man and a bald dog. But never mind. But that gave rise to the equally stupid notion of curing a hangover with more booze as being known as the hair of the dog. The hair of the dog that bit you.
Yes, I always wondered where that came from.
Yeah, a bit like treating a burn with a blowtorch, but never mind. Anyway, and if I remember right, treacle, the word treacle appears in this context in early versions of the Bible, in which Jeremiah 8:22 laments, "Is there no treacle in Gilead?" which is now rendered, "Is there no balm," as in a curative medicine, in Gilead, in more modern versions of the Bible. But originally it was, "Is there no treacle?" Anyway, of course, booze, like fire, is a good servant and a bad master. And this was firmly observed in the 19th century of logging camps in North America and across the border in Canada as well, in which the work was pretty hard and dangerous. And there was a lot of dynamite used in logging. It was a lot quicker to drop a tree with a belt of dynamite around it than stand there, hacking away at it. And in the frozen conditions that tended to be up in these hilltop logging camps, the dynamite was sometimes warmed up in the campfires to make it more receptive to the blasting cap. But gives you a whole new meaning to bang us for breakfast. But anyway, I mean, you see these things in Western. Someone fires a gun into a case of dynamite and it blows up.
Yeah.
No, can't happen. You need a blasting cap to set it off. But either way, there was obviously this isn't the sort of work where you wanted men hungover or half boozed up. So everyone in the camp, in the logging camps, they were always on a water-only regime. And given the hilly locations, most of the logging camps, this had to be hauled in tanks fixed to wagons, metal tanks fixed on the back of wooden wagons, hence being on the wagon for not drinking.
Brilliant.
Now, we've all seen the movies showing the logs, once they've been all cleaned up and all the branches cut off, being shot downhill through long chute to the river, for onwards transmission downstream to the sawmills. And this work on the chute was only undertaken by the local down and outs and drifters. To the loggers, this long chute made of greased planks was known as the skid road or skid row. And those working on it, the local drunks and whatever, and down and outs being said to be on the skids. Now, when the loggers got time off to hit the local town, they invariably headed for that part of the town where they could find the sort of bar and other establishments of interest to them. And since that part of town tended to be home to the shadier elements of the community, that too, in loggers' slang, came known as Skid Row. And that's what it's still used today for a shady part of town.
Yeah.
Now, and talking of those bars that they used to like, if a logger felt like starting a punch-up, then all he had to do was to place a large wood chip on his shoulder in the bar, stand there, and then throw his drink at the wall, which served as his invitation for anyone to flick it off to kick off the action, start free for all. Yeah, it was like, whoever flicks this off is going to, bang, smack, punch up. And then, hence the truculent and belligerent people today still being said to have a chip on their shoulder.
Oh, brilliant. Again,
it's not French fry.
No, always wondered where that came from as well.
Yeah, it's a wood chip. You flick this off, I'm going to smack you, and it's game on.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and hard as it may be today to imagine it being illegal to buy a round of drinks in a British pub, but that was once the case as proscribed under what was known as DORA, D-O-R-A, Defence of the Realm Act, as passed in 1914. Now, prior to this, of course, World War I would obviously kicked off. Now, prior to this, pubs opened and shut when they wanted. They could run 24/7 if they wanted, or if they didn't have any customers, just shut. But with World War One in full swing and munitions workers earning a previously unheard of £2.10, £2.50 a week, drunkenness actually became a very serious problem. And when too many dud shells started turning up at the front, something, as they say, had to be done. Now, the first ever restricted hours were imposed then, with pubs, they could only open between midday and 2 p.m, and then again from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The strength of beers and spirits became restricted and whatever. And also, in that Defence of the Realm Act, it included a prohibition of invitation to treat, which made it illegal to buy a round of drinks in a pub, to prevent people staying the course until everyone... say you have a group of 10 munitions workers going, first one, I'll get these for 10 pints. And he's going to stay there till he gets his 10 pints back, sort of thing. You just stop people staying the course and drinking relentlessly until everyone in the group had bought their round and then staggered off back to home and then turned up half drunk for work in the munitions. And this legislation actually stood until 1919, but it also gave the government the idea of nationalising every pub, off-licence, brewery and distillery in the UK. Now, I doubt anyone's really heard of it today, but this idea took life or shape in 1916 as what was called the Carlisle Scheme, under which over 300 pubs, breweries, distilleries in Carlisle and Gretna were nationalised, and that area was chosen because of the preponderance of munitions factories in the area. Now, although this scheme was never actually rolled out across the UK, those pubs and breweries remained under state ownership. They were nationalised. They were state-owned for a staggering 55 years. They weren't returned to private ownership until 1971 under the Heath government. So before that, the government ran boozers around Carlisle, Gretna and across the Scottish border. And so at least you could say that's one UK government that came to the realisation it couldn't actually organise a certain sort of party in a brewery.
Very good.
Yeah, now we've all heard of people described as being sober as a judge, but this expression is actually quite ironic in that it originally meant absolutely legless, because judges back in, say, I don't know, the 18th century and probably before, they used to swine down what was called cordial when in session as a defence against the so-called jail fever so prominent in those who were being dragged up before them. Now, although the word cordial now means a sweet fruit concoction, back in the day, cordial was a mixture of herbs and spices steeped in... It was pure alcohol with herbs and spices, basically, and so named because the doctors of the time thought it was good for your heart, or cordis, as you know, was the Latin for heart at the time and still. And it was also thought to be a defence against diseases, which were then thought to be transmitted by bad smells and bad air. So, of course, you bring up some stinking prisoner, and the judge will, could give me some more cordial. And hence the disease malaria, bad air.
Yeah.
Now, over in Holland, the lawyers were a bit more restrained in their on-duty boozing and restricted themselves to a very mild eggnog, which, still available, is marketed under a name that most of the UK insist on rendering advocaat.
Yes.
But the Dutch, they've never bothered with letters. They don't pronounce the Dutch. They just don't do that. So the name was and still is of that drink, advocaat, as in advocate.
Yeah.
The lawyer's drink. Now, another example of erroneous, Frenchification, if you like, occurs in the Champagne. Everyone calls Moet et Chandon. and leaving those demanding, "Oi, Paul, give us a bottle of that Moet," being sneered at. But the Moet mob are right.
Yeah.
The brand
this a few years ago. It was bizarre because everyone always takes the mickey if someone says Moet because you sound really common, but it's right.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. Because the brand name celebrates the partnership of Pierre-Gabriel Chandon, he was French, and a chap called Claude Moet, who was of Dutch heritage, and his name was pronounced Moet, as demanded by the two little dots over the E. And lastly, in that sense, to the buffet and buffet. Now, I mean, buffet, it's silly. The term originally denoted a kind of running snack laid out on what was called a buffet, which was basically a tabletop hinged to the wall in a manorial house or whatever, with knock-away legs. So when it wasn't in use, it could be allowed to drop and slam back against the wall with a bang or a buffet. So it was called a buffet.
Who decided it was buffet then? How funny!
It was a buffet. I mean, that said, I mean, if you walked into a swanky do, imagine walking up to the bar and said, "All right, pal, give us two advocates, a bottle of that Moet, and point me in the right direction for the buffet." They think, "Oh God, the Simpsons have arrived," you know.
Absolutely. Oh dear. And then you look like a right pillock if you start explaining to them.
There's a penalty for being right in English.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. Oh, I love a good buffet. Yes, with a glass of Moet on the side.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, hit me with that Moet, pal.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for that, Graeme Donald. That was brilliant. Really, really enjoyed that. Can't believe we have only one more before the end of this year.
I know. What do you fancy doing next time?
I don't know. I mean, something Christmassy? Something to do with, I don't know, Christmas, Jesus.
Christmas things?
What?
The origin of Father Christmas, yeah?
Yeah, the origin of Father Christmas, because so many countries claim him as their own, don't they? So you might get yourself in a bit of a tiswas.
It's a multi-layer thing. Some of all the coming down the chimney and all that. It's like
and stockings
drug-crazed Siberian shamans. There's a teaser to put out.
Yes, lovely. Well, I'll leave it with you. Look forward to doing Christmas with you next month.
Okay.
Graeme, thank you so much for being with us. And talking of Christmas, the perfect stocking filler would be one of your books. Indeed.
Yes, just leap online to Amazon, type, Graeme, Graeme, Donald, books, and
see what you fancy. Yeah, absolutely. Graeme, thank you for being with us. Always a pleasure. And looking forward to December already.
Yeah. Give my love to Wendy.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Bye.